Let's do some practice notating chords with inversions. So when I look at the chord symbol, I have the chord and the inversion. So in this case, D minor 6. So D minor first inversion. The first thing I want to do is figure out what letters a D chord will include. And all D chords of any kind will include the same three letters. So it's some sort of D, then I skip the next letter, some sort of F, skip the next letter, some sort of A. And if you need help, you can always just write it off to the side and think, okay, what are my three letters that this chord includes? Don't worry about whether they're sharp or flat just yet. We'll apply the key signature later. So I think D, F, and A, and I think in a 6 chord, a first inversion chord, that means that F is going to be on bottom. So I'll write F, A, and then D. Make sure that you either erase your scratch work or box your answer or something so I know which one is your actual answer. So that is my first inversion D chord. I don't know yet if it's a D minor chord or some other kind of D chord until I apply the key signature of D minor. So I think the key signature of D minor is 1 flat, it's a B flat, and then I go, okay, well, none of those notes are B flat, which means I can leave it exactly as it is, and I know that that is D minor. If it were D major, I would apply the key signature of D major. So it takes all the guesswork as to which key signature you're going to apply to it. Some people even like this like it more and think it's easier than an analyzing chords. So here we have a C sharp 6/4. So I'm thinking some kind of C, skip a letter, some kind of E, skip a letter, some kind of G. I can look at the piano, or I can just notate off to the side to double check to make sure that that fits with my idea of a snowman. C, E, G, 6/4 means that it's the fifth of the chord, the G, that's going to be on bottom. And then I write some sort of C and E. Again, I want to erase my scratch work or box my answer or something. I know that the C is sharped. But now I need to figure out if the other notes are sharp too. So in C sharp major, what is my key signature? Well, it's everything sharped. C sharp has 7 sharps, which means that I need to sharp my E and I need to sharp my G. Now, it's common practice for the notes, for the sharp symbols to be staggered like this whenever I have the chords that look like that. So just keep that in mind. We don't want to try to stack them up all vertically like that because it does get a little cluttered. All right, that's it. I figured out the notes of the chord, I figured out which one goes on bottom, and I applied the key signature. Those 3 steps. Pitch inventory, which one is the lowest pitch based on my inversion, and then apply the key signature. So, B flat. All B chords include some sort of B, some sort of D, and some sort of F. I can do this right here and confirm that's the way it is. Now, I need to determine which one is on bottom. Well, this one is a root position chord. There's no inversion there, so I can leave it exactly as it is. Now, I apply the key signature. When I'm applying the key signature, I need to be mindful that this is B flat, but it's augmented, which means that the fifth will be higher than whatever I think the key signature would normally have. Well, B flat major has 2 flats. One of them is on B flat, one of them is on E flat. So I'll put the B flat here. There's nothing there for E flat, which means I can just leave that one alone. This fits the key signature of B flat major, which means that this is a B flat major chord. However, I don't want a B flat major chord, I want a B flat augmented chord, which means that I need to change one pitch, this one right up here. I need to change the fifth of the chord and I need to raise it by a half step. In this case, it will be a sharp. This is a very strange chord, and it's probably the only chord that you're going to encounter for a long time that includes both a sharp and flat symbol in it. That's highly, highly irregular. Most of the chords that you deal with are only going to use sharp symbols or only going to use flat symbols. But this particular B flat augmented chord has both. Makes it a little strange, so just kind of keep that in mind that it's not the norm. Moving on, we have G sharp diminished 6. So I think it's going to have a G, it's going to have a B, and it's going to have a D. However, it's in 6, which is first inversion, which means that it's not the G on bottom, it's the B, and the G is above it like that. G sharp diminished means that I think of the key of G sharp minor, and then I lower the 5th. In augmented, I'm raising the 5th. In diminished, I'm lowering the 5th. So here, I have G sharp, and then I think about the key signature of G sharp minor, which is 5 sharps, F, not there, C, not there, G, got it, D, which is the 5th of my chord that I would normally add that sharp to, and now I'm taking it away. So if it helps, you can write it and finish it out and then erase it later. Whatever it helps to think in terms of that. So G sharp minor would normally have a sharp on G and a sharp on D, but because it's diminished, we're changing the 5th. In this case, we took a sharp away. In this case, we added a sharp. Just be mindful of what change you're making to the 5th of the chord and whether it's going to be addition or subtraction of an accidental. So that's our G sharp diminished chord right there, G sharp, B, D. Let's move on over here to another diminished chord, F sharp diminished 6-4. So, like with the previous one, I'm thinking, what are the notes in my chord? It's an F, it's an A, and it's a C. When it's 6-4, that means that C is on bottom. So I think the C, F, A. Then I apply the key signature of F sharp minor. F sharp minor is going to have an F sharp, a C sharp, and a G sharp, which I don't really care about because it's not on the chord. Now, that's F sharp minor, but then I have to think diminished means change the 5th. So that C sharp that I just added, I'm going to take that away. If it's confusing to think in terms of which of those notes is the root and the 5th, you can always just notate them off to the side. Add the accidentals here. Make any changes you need here. And then recopy it in its inverted form. The only thing I might caution you about that is that if you forget to erase your initial answer, you'll have 2 answers there, so it'll be wrong. And it takes a little bit more time. Eventually, I'd hope that you can start to work through it in your head. But if you want to start by practicing that on scratch paper or off to the side or something like that, by all means, it might be helpful. A flat 6. Again, you have to be really specific in how you notate the flat and the 6 so they don't look alike. Otherwise, it looks like A double flat. So A flat 6. That means I'm going to have some form of A, some form of C, and some form of E. All A chords include those 3 notes. Because it's 6, that means that this note right here, the C, will be my lowest pitch. So C, E, and A flat. Now I know that A flat is there, but let's talk about the rest of the key signature for A flat major. It has 4 flats, B, which is not there, E, which is there, A, which I already got, and D, which isn't there, so I can ignore it. That fits the key signature of A flat major. I put it in first inversion. I'm done. 2 more now. E flat 6-4. So I think E flat is going to have some form of E, some form of G, and some form of B. In this case, I could keep doing what I'm doing and just add it in there. But like I said before, if it helps, you can notate all the key signature here first. It's really up to you. I'll do it the second way just to show you what that looks like. So I have E flat, and I think the E flat minor has a key signature with 6 flats. It means almost everything is flatted. So I think B, E, A, D, G. I can stop there. I've already flatted all of the notes in the whole chord. So then I can notate it over here with the fifth on bottom. So B flat, E flat, and G flat, and just want to erase my initials. So if it helps you in terms of thinking of how to apply the notes by putting them off to the side, notating the flats and sharps first, by all means do that. It's probably most going to be beneficial to do that in augmented and diminished chords where you have to do more changes. And I'll show you that process right here. We have a C diminished chord, which means I am going to have some form of C, E, G. I'll find out which form in a second. Diminished means that I start with C minor. So C minor is going to have three flats, B flat, not there, E flat, got it, and A flat, not there. Okay? So that's C minor. But this is C diminished, so I have to change something. I have to lower the fifth. Before I lowered the fifth by removing something, but here I have to add something. Lowering the fifth means adding in a flat. So that's now a C diminished chord, but don't stop there because it's a root position C diminished chord, and I want it to be first inversion C diminished. So I take this and I move it around to where my E flat is on bottom, and then I have my G flat, and then C. Octave doesn't matter as long as the order starts with an E flat as the lowest pitch in whichever octave it's in. Also, I should point out that these can be rearranged to form different shapes. You'll see that our first inversion chords have this shape, and our second inversion chords have that shape, and that's a great shorthand to sort of see those shapes and kind of get an idea of what the chord is. But these chords could just as easily be expanded, as we've seen in our analysis work, to be rearranged in lots of different places. What specifies the inversion is the lowest pitch. The order of the pitches above it is not really important as long as all of those required pitches are there. So as you're working through this, keep in mind how those inversions work. They'll change the function of chords as well, which we'll get to in much later things. If you're still having trouble, practice those key signatures. They are the key to success.